What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to Comic Breakdown. If you are new to the channel, do me a favor, hit that sub button, hit that notification bell, make sure you're not missing any of the awesome content we have coming out. And with this video, we are jumping into Robin and Batman. This will be issue number 3 and the end to this series. Now, if you haven't been keeping up with this line, go ahead, check out the link in my description as well as the top of this video. It will get you completely caught up on everything going on with this line. And over the course of these last 3 issues, what we have seen is the beginnings of Dick Grayson, the beginnings of Robin. From the creation of the costume to the creation of the name, we are seeing Robin finally coming into his own, becoming the hero that he was always meant to be. And his real first test is going to be Killer Croc. Be sure to buy the comics, support the industry, and with that being said, let's dive into this breakdown. Alright gang, so as we dive into the final issue, we are picking up in the sewers. And right now, Batman and Robin, they are beating the crap out of some goons. They are trying to get information on where Killer Croc is. And with them desperate for information, we see Robin, he goes a little bit too far. He is hitting one of these guys and he is just making him bloody, splattering blood all over his costume. Batman even has to back him off. The only issue is these guys, they don't have any information for them. None of them have seen Croc for weeks. They have all been waiting, scouring the sewers, looking for where he might be. And so with this interrogation over, with them heading back home, Alfred, he cleans out the blood from the uniform. And with it picking up as the next morning, they are sitting down at the breakfast table and they are talking about what next? What are we going to do next? Now, Dick Grayson, he has to go back to school. It is a Monday morning, which means he has to get his butt moving before it is too late. Of course, Robin, he wants to stay home. He wants to figure out this Killer Croc situation. Being so close to an answer, Alfred tells him that he doesn't have a choice, that he needs to get his butt up and he needs to get to school. With Bruce Wayne at the table, he's not really paying attention to this conversation in the slightest. But he tells Alfred that the boy should be allowed to stay home. With this investigation ongoing, with them being so close to it, anything that he would learn during this investigation is far better than anything he could learn at the academy. Now for Alfred, this throws him over the edge, taking Robin's costume and throwing it in his face, telling him, fine, next time you can clean the blood out. With Alfred wanting to at least attempt to keep up appearances, to appear to look like a normal family. With Alfred throwing the costume at Bruce Wayne and storming out of the room, he tells Dick Grayson that you need to get up, you need to go to school. Alfred is right, and you need to go learn something today. And before we continue on, I do want to bring up the fact that Alfred, he really has been betrayed in this new light in the most recent comics, in newer comics at least. He's been betrayed as someone who stands up to Batman more. You know, in the past, he was always someone that didn't always necessarily question him. While you had moments of that, we are seeing it a lot more often as comics are going on. At least for me in the last 2 years, from what I have seen, we have seen Alfred become much more aggressive in his stances against Batman. And I think this is something that was needed, to point out the fact that Alfred Pennyworth, he busts his butt trying to keep everybody in line. More than anything, I'm just happy that Alfred is finally getting all of the spotlight that he truly deserves. Because to many of the Robins, he has been a father figure, and he has been the closest and best companion of Batman through this entire time. But with Dick Grayson going back to school, all he can think about is Killer Croc, about getting out there, fighting some crime, and figuring out where he might be. He finds himself completely engulfed in this. So much so that when kids come up to offer him to play D&D, he really doesn't have any kind of interest in getting involved in it, believing that he just doesn't have time for little kid games or role-playing games or whatever it may be. He doesn't have time to be a kid. But this conversation is quickly interrupted, and that is because Killer Croc knew the location of where Robin is. Knowing which school he went to, it was a matter of him going into the principal's office, getting on the loudspeaker and letting him know that if Robin doesn't show himself, that all of these students, the teachers, the faculty, they are all going to pay. And if he doesn't show himself, Killer Croc is going to reveal who Robin truly is. And so with panic filling the hallways, it gives Dick Grayson the opportunity to make his way to Killer Croc. With him covering his face, showing himself to Killer Croc, the chase is on. Though we can't really say it's much of a chase, because as Robin goes to take off, Killer Croc quickly grabs him and throws him into a wall, only to be saved seconds later with the crashing glass and the entrance of Batman. With Batman coming in and trying to save the day, Batman's ribs are still a mess. And because of that, Killer Croc uses that to his advantage, gives some sucker punches to his ribcage, and Batman goes crumbling to his knees. And as he beats the heck out of Batman, he tells him he is going to watch as Batman dies, as everyone you love dies. That you are not going to witness just one father's death, but now two. And then once he has taken everything from him, then, and only then, will he come for the life of Dick Grayson. And so with Killer Croc throwing Batman over his shoulder and jumping out a window, we see Dick Grayson quickly make his way back home, telling Alfred what happened, telling him that Killer Croc has kidnapped Batman, and that it is his fault and he needs to rectify this. And when I say his fault, I mean Robin. Robin is blaming himself for all of this happening, and he is the partner of Batman. He needs to be there. He needs to have his back, no matter what the stakes. Alfred trying to caution him, trying to let him know, maybe we should call somebody. Maybe we should call the Justice League or anybody that has more experience than you do. But he tells Alfred, this is how it has to be. This is what it means to be Robin. And with him suiting up, he heads out, knowing exactly where to go. And that is what's going to take us to the circus. The place that has been here for quite some time. A circus that is no longer running. Bruce Wayne once offering to Dick Grayson to buy this place and demolish it. But Robin didn't want that. This is the last living memory of his parents, of the life he had before Batman. And though he never wanted to return here, it was nice to have that there. The last piece of his parents that he would ever have. This was his home. And the reason Robin knew to come to this location is because Killer Croc was once a member of this circus. Now Killer Croc, he had left much earlier on. When Robin was younger, he barely remembers him, but he remembers him. Back then, they all called him Fishman. Being much littler, Dick Grayson was terrified of him at the time. And though he looked very different back then, Dick Grayson is 100% sure that they are the same person. And for him, it's all obvious. Back then, Killer Croc, he was trapped inside of a tank. He was sad, depressed, more than likely mistreated. And this is the side of the circus that Dick Grayson never really saw, because all he ever saw was happiness. The Flying Graysons being the biggest attraction around. They were the stars. They got all of the spotlight. And so they were showered with affection. They were showered with love. And so the only thing Killer Croc ever saw was their happiness while he was suffering down below. And this is where Robin walks into one of the tents with a giant tank filling up with water and Batman hanging upside down, hanging low enough to where when the water rises, it will drown Batman. Robin jumping in, trying to do anything he can to try to free the Bat. And we have Batman stop him, telling him that he is a good boy. No matter what has been said, no matter how Batman has ever acted, he is proud of him. And that he doesn't have to do this. He doesn't have to be here. With Killer Croc on his way, with this all being a trap to lure you in. In my current predicament, I cannot help you. And he calls him son, which is just so powerful in this moment. Because he is putting it all on the line. If Batman doesn't survive this, he doesn't want Dick Grayson knowing that he was just some experiment, that he was just a sidekick. This is Bruce Wayne's son. He loves him, he cares about him, and he is proud of him. With him trying so hard to pick the lock, he ends up dropping the pins down into the water. Looking for them before Batman drowns, we have the arrival of Killer Croc. And Robin wastes no time getting into the fight, jumping at Killer Croc, laying down some elbows, laying down some haymakers. But with one singular punch to Robin's stomach, all of the air is knocked from him, with Killer Croc grabbing him by the cape and lifting him up into the air, letting him know, after all of this time, after all of these years, him getting nothing but fish guts thrown into his water as they got all of the applause, all of the glory, all of the fame. They got all of the love while he was kicked on, he was spit on, he was treated like nothing more than a freak. And so now he is going to make Dick Grayson pay. As Batman is slowly beginning to drown, we see him take Robin and dunk his head underwater, continuously doing this. And holding him under long enough, we see Robin, he starts to go lifeless. His vision begins to fade, and everything turns to black. And in this darkness, this is where he sees the light. Both of his parents standing before him, telling him he needs to open his eyes. With him opening them up, he sees an object he can grab, and he does. Grabbing this object, he stabs Killer Croc right in the face. As he screams in anguish, this gives Robin the opportunity, and he realizes this whole time he has been fighting Killer Croc in his territory. He has been fighting him in the water, but a flying Grayson, they belong in the air. And so with him throwing his grappling hook up to the ceiling, we see our Robin take flight. And so now having this rope, we see him doing these acrobatics, just beating the crap out of Killer Croc. And with him knocking out Killer Croc, he makes his way over to Batman, trying to free him, hoping that he got to him in time, hoping that Batman has not drowned yet. Unlocking him, getting him down, and bringing Batman up to the surface, Batman is still alive, with the two of them embracing one another. This could be argued as one of the greatest moments for Batman and Robin. This could be argued as the day that Dick Grayson truly understood how much Batman loved him. And so with our battle now being completed, we pick up days later and we have Robin sitting down with a bunch of school friends playing Dungeons and Dragons. And he has learned so much from this whole ordeal. For so long, he has been afraid of his own shadow, afraid of the darkness, afraid of all of these things out there. But he has learned more than anything that this fear, it is a good thing. This fear helps you find out who you truly are, what you are truly capable of, and the things that you can overcome. And this is when Dick Grayson, he came to the realization he never actually needs to be Batman. He doesn't need to live up to the mantle of the Batman. He can be something else. He can be something better. And he knows that as he goes along this path, that he won't be doing it alone. Whether it be the Titans, whether it be Batman, there will always be somebody at his side. Somebody there to carry the burden of everything they must. While Batman is the darkness, Robin is the light. And that will be the end of this issue. So let me know what you guys think down in the comments. Though this was only 3 issues, I really think they got their point across. They got the beginning, the middle, and the end. We were able to get a ton of dialogue, but also really getting some great emotion, really understanding how Robin came to be, how he came to create the name Robin, how he created his suit, and even the beginnings of Nightwing, because he's talked about Nightwing quite a few times. In fact, that was actually the name he wanted to go with, but more than anything, he wanted to taunt Batman, and that's why he ended up picking Robin. But what I really like most about this is it shows us that Robin, he didn't really know what he was going to be. When he started all of this out, he wasn't sure if he wanted to be exactly like Batman, but he learned along the way that he wanted to be something better. That darkness may be a tool that Batman uses, But Robin wants to be the light. He wants to show people that he is there for them. That while people fear Batman, Robin needs to be the one to come up and offer that hand. And we have seen this talked about through a couple of Nightwing lines. It's almost like a yin and yang between Batman and Robin. And Dick Grayson, he really did set the precedent for what comes next. For every iteration of Robin, he has laid out the ground rules, the law of the land. He has let everybody know that if you are going to be Robin, this is your job. This is your job as the sidekick to the Bat. These are your responsibilities, and this is how you need to help Batman when he's in his darkest times. When he can no longer see the light, you need to show it to him. Not only that, we got to see some amazing emotion between Robin and Batman. Well, Batman, he's been this brooding force that believes that this is nothing more than an experiment, or at least that's what Robin believed, that he was nothing more than a soldier. But Dick Grayson was proven otherwise, and that was because Batman finally showed his vulnerability. With a near-death experience, he was finally able to come out and let Dick Grayson know that I love you, you are my son, and you are the most important thing to me. And so I can't think of a more heartwarming story than this one. Let me know your thoughts, let me know your theories. If you have not yet, do me a favor, hit that sub button, hit that notification bell, make sure you're not missing any of the awesome content we have coming out, and until the next breakdown.